What's up? This is Elric Ong, and today I'm here with Joyce Lam, and she's a fashion model, and she's also involved in the economic development and social impact space. She founded her non-profit 2 years ago after traveling and working overseas, and she realized the economic inequality that is so prevalent between the lower and upper classes in Los Angeles. She hopes to equip disadvantaged and undeserved individuals with the tools necessary to succeed and provide access to economic mobility. Before her non-profit, she had an e-commerce matcha company and a fashion line, and her background is in finance. So welcome to the show, Joyce. Maybe you can start by sharing your journey in entrepreneurship. Or maybe how do you first become a model, and then how do you first become an entrepreneur, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, thank you for having me on the show, Eric. So I guess a little bit of background about me. I graduated in accounting and finance, and I always, my parents always told me, go into finance, go into accounting, because that's how you make money. So that's what I started to do. So I was in that space for about 4 years. I did corporate finance, did corporate accounting, did a lot of analyst like positions and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But after a while, I think my mom, she was actually the one that pushed me to explore a little bit out of the finance space. I think she was just seeing how much I was working. I was only sleeping like 4 hours a day, and my eye bags are like Chanel eye bags, like this big. So I think she was just saying, Joyce, like you can try other things, like you can do pageantry, you can do modeling, like you're tall. And then I'm actually the shortest one in my family. Like my mom is taller than me. So I come from a pretty tall Asian family. So she's like, yeah, you should try modeling, do something kind of unique. So that's how I got into modeling, and also entrepreneurship. My dad is an entrepreneur, and my family is very entrepreneur minded. So it was never, I guess, the idea of working for a big company and like being trapped in the rat race never really, I don't know, like it just was never something that I really wanted to do. So my mom just always encouraged me to step outside my comfort zone and try new things. And obviously when I started my entrepreneurship journey, they were always like, oh, are you sure? Like when I did matcha, my fashion line, they're like, oh, are you sure you want to do that? But then after a while, once I told them, oh, I just want to try it and see how it is, and they're very supportive. So that's kind of how I got started.
So tell me more about the struggles you faced when you first started being an entrepreneur, because I probably had the same struggles when I first started my first business when I was 19 years old and everything. So yeah, tell me a bit about the struggles.
Yeah, so actually my first the first e-commerce that I did was swimwear. And I know you do a lot of marketing, so you know how important marketing is, but I didn't know anything about marketing. So I had everything set up, like I had the stock, I had like really good, I guess, product to sell, but I had no idea how to do marketing. I had no idea how to do social media. I had no idea how to do conversion or any of that. So I think that particular project opened me to the reality of being an entrepreneur. You have to know everything. You have to learn everything on your own. You have to be very knowledgeable in multiple sectors so that you can grow your company to the best that it can be. So, yeah.
Okay, so and what other struggles or obstacles do you face? Like, do you get a coach when you first started? Do you run Facebook ads? Do you run Google ads?
Yeah, I think my struggle was that none of my friends were doing it. Like everyone was still in school and I was still in school. There was no one really I could turn to except for Google. So all I did every day was Google, like, how do I like build a website? Like how do I build a Shopify website? How do I do anything? And then I think I should have, like looking back, I should have found a coach because I didn't know the type of questions to ask. It was always when I ran into something, then I would be like, oh, Google how to do this. So I think it was a pretty good like learning experience for me. Like I definitely learned a lot during that first venture. I didn't make that much money, obviously. I was like 18, 19, same as you, I think. But yeah, I think it was really fun, and it showed me that I could do it if I really wanted to. And like it wasn't something that was out of what like my what I wanted to do, I guess.
So tell me more
Yeah.
about your social enterprise. Why do you start it, and what is it about? Yeah.
Yeah, so my nonprofit is called Kaimor, and we focus on providing professional development training to disadvantaged or underserved individuals. So the populations we served are previously incarcerated individuals. We serve domestic violence survivors and immigrants, and also unhoused individuals in the Los Angeles area. And kind of like what you said in the beginning, I was working overseas, and I was I had a fashion line, so our factories were based in like lower income areas where a lot of the factory workers that I visited, I was like, oh my gosh, they're definitely being exploited, and they, don't have a good quality of life. And then you go back to like, modeling shows, or you go to like fashion shows and things like that, you see a completely different um, like class there, I guess, like very upper class versus lower class. And the people making the clothes are definitely like they're creating the product, but their quality of life is so bad. So I think for me, I was just convicted, like I want to spend the rest of my life providing value to the economy and providing like helping individuals who may not have had the same advantages as me or some of my peers. And I think so far it's been really fruitful. I've been able to meet a lot of amazing people and get to know a lot of my clients on a personal level. So.
So how do you fund it? Like what's the business model behind it? But because in every non-profit there's also a business model behind it. How do you fund the operations and yeah?
Yeah, so we're pretty new, and for the past 2 years, we have been volunteer based. But since we incorporated and we started to scale up a little bit more, most of our revenue comes from our products and the trainings that we provide. So we do offer it to individuals like you and I, like normal working professionals, and they pay a certain price for our courses or our trainings, or if they want to attend our webinars. But our target audience is for those individuals who really need the services. So for them, they can apply for our vouchers if they're in these certain populations or if they're low income, and they can take our classes for free. And we also get funded through private donations and private funding. And then we're also applying, we've also started applying to a lot of government grants. So hopefully we'll be able to land some of those.
So where do you get the trainers from? Like how do you source for the trainers or recruit new trainers?
Yeah, so a lot of our board members are in corporate. So we just have, if anyone is interested, like, managers or individuals who are high ranking in their certain industry, then we invite them to come speak. But generally speaking, we do have trainers and we do have staff that provide the training. And then we have speakers come in as like panelists. So for example, if someone wants to go into the plumbing industry, then we'll have maybe someone like a small business owner who is a plumber to come speak a little bit about like how to get a job in that specific industry.
Okay. So basically you help people get jobs. Do you show them how to start their own business as well?
We do have a small business entrepreneurship program. But for our specific clientele, like we want to make sure that they're financially stable and they're not going into debt when they're starting a small business. Like we don't want them to be taking out a bunch of loans when they don't have sort of an emergency fund to fall back on. But once we realize that they're doing okay, they're pretty stable, then we can tell them like, these are some ways where you can start, building your own small business. And then we help them go through like, the legal setup. We help them go through basics of marketing. I guess the basics of what I went through, or I wish I had a coach. So we would go through that with them.
So what makes you feel alive? Like what makes you want to continue being an entrepreneur? Like, or what makes you feel alive? Yeah.
I think for me, the idea of the nonprofit came from the strong conviction that, you know, I'm a Christian, and my everything in the Christian belief is like love God and love others. And so when I was in corporate, I just felt like I wasn't spending my time wisely to love other people, and like spend time investing in other people. So the idea of a nonprofit really appealed to me because I thought I could just spend the rest of my life using what God has given me to invest in other individuals. And through that, obviously, it's a two-way road, two-way street, and I can invest in them, and in return, we have like a relationship. So I think that's what really motivates me to get up in the morning, like, oh, today I'm going to do this and this and this. Not is not really like, because obviously I'm not like an expert in any of these, but I just know like they look forward to seeing me and I look forward to seeing them. And there's just a lot of back and forth. Like they teach me a lot about humility. They teach me a lot about hard work, and about these things. So I think it's just a great relationship to have. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very similar to my sister. My sister studied finance, right? Like she studied
Mhm.
human resource and finance, and then right now she's a Catholic nun in Spain. Yeah,
Oh,
like a nun.
really?
Yeah, she's been a nun for like the past 3 or 4 years. Anyway,
Oh, wow.
so okay, then tell me a little bit more about a story about being a model, and then like how do you what's a life like for a model? What's a life like for someone like how is a normal day in your life like?
Yeah, so I guess I'm a little different than other full-time models because I do have like do finance or I do nonprofit on as my full-time. So usually for modeling, I go by gig, and then usually I walk fashion runway shows instead of like print or commercial. So usually I'm busiest around LA Fashion Week, or fashion weeks where a lot of designers come and then they cast models. So usually it's only for that short time frame. But I definitely do feel pressured because I know a lot of my modeling friends, they diet really hard, they work out a lot, you know, and they really are in tip top shape. And for me, I think it's kind of like second tier for me, and I really love to eat. So there is a little bit of I guess stress, or not stress, but like I guess it's a balance for me. Like I try to stay healthy and I try to eat well, but I don't try to stick to like a certain diet or anything. Yeah,
So
but right before the show, I do
yeah,
do a diet.
right before the show you do a diet. So what's your plans for the future? And yeah.
I think definitely modeling is a short-term thing for me. I think it's nice to have photos from while I'm still young, you know, or young, I guess. And then so when I grow old, I can maybe show my kids, like, oh, look, this was me when I was, you know, in my prime, I guess. But I definitely see myself working on the nonprofit long term. Like, I guess even when I was young, my dream was always like, oh, when I retire, I want to have my own nonprofit where I can, you know, just spend my time volunteering my time and like helping people. Like, I don't think there's anything that gives me more joy than that. So I can definitely see myself like doing nonprofit for the rest of my life, and however wherever it takes me, you know, that's just I'll just kind of go with the flow and see what happens. Yeah.
So have you thought of like running a for-profit business so that the cash flow that you make from that can fund your non-profit business?
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely in the works. I kind of like, I guess, a little bit about my background. Like, I do finance. I did do real estate for a little bit. I currently do have my e-commerce matcha company, and also there's like a couple other ventures that I'm working on. So hopefully one day, when my nonprofit is more stable and sustainable and we have regular funding, maybe I can step back and focus a little bit more on the for-profit. And then the idea behind the for-profit is we want to eventually make the for-profit entity to hire our clients coming out of the nonprofit. So once they complete their training, once they complete all our courses, then we give them an opportunity to be employed at our nonprofit. So that's the long-term goal for our vision, I guess.
Okay, take me through a little bit more about your systems, like in your non-profit business. Talk me through the operations of the business, like how how do you recruit, like the whole operations of the business? Yeah.
So I guess we're pretty casual. We're not structured like a normal nonprofit where it's very rigid and there's like you do this, because we're still a pretty small team. We're only about 15 people big. So everyone has to kind of jump in where they're available, whether it be marketing, website design, whether it be training or recruiting or outreach. So yeah, the basic trainings that we provide, we do cohorts for professional development, which includes like resume writing or interviewing or interview etiquette and professional etiquette and things like that. And we also do financial sustainability. So how do you save, like very basic terms that maybe a lot of individuals, they're not familiar with. So banking, like how do you open a bank account? What's a savings account versus checking account, and then through these, we just have individuals, we just ask our team like, oh, do you know anyone in your office or in your corporate network, if anyone's interested in speaking about resume writing for, I don't know, like auditing or something. Like how do you create your resume so you can get audit position? And then we'll try to have panelists come in. And then we do already have a set curriculum that we go through. It's a 9-week curriculum that we go through for each cohort. So our clients will just sign up and then we'll just place them in the next cohort that is available. And then we just go through the whole class with them.
So your 15 members, are they all volunteers or you pay them a salary or what?
Yeah, so currently we're not salaried, but they're contracted. So we're hoping that once we scale up a little bit more, then we'll be able to put everyone on W-2 and bring everyone full time.
I see. Okay, that's cool. So last question, let's talk about Clubhouse. How do you feel about Clubhouse? Do you think it's the next big thing? Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely love Clubhouse. I guess I was invited pretty early to join the platform, but I guess it didn't really click in my head like, oh, this is something new and it's going to be the next big thing. But I think once joining, I was just like, oh, this is really cool. I get to speak to a lot of new people, especially during quarantine. Like I haven't met anyone new in the whole year. So I think joining Clubhouse, I was able to finally meet people again, finally got to network a little bit more. And definitely I've had a lot of people reach out to me about the nonprofit and saying, hey, I could speak on this topic if you want me to come do it pro bono for you. Or a lot of individuals are like, hey, I know a nonprofit that is looking for your services. Like, can you partner with them? So it's definitely been like such a joy to see all these entrepreneurs, but at the end of the day, they're not really in it to like make a lot of money, like I don't think any entrepreneur is like, I want to make a lot of money, so I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I mean, that's probably part of it, but on a larger scale, I think everyone just wants to add value to the world and just give something back to the world. And it's pretty evident in how often people reach out to me, even though I don't make any money from my nonprofit, and there's not really a lot of profit that comes out of it on their end, but they still want to help. So it's amazing to see.
So how many people have gone through the programs, like the courses and the classes so far?
Yeah, so so far we have about 800, a little more than 800 clients that have been touched by our courses, or we go through with them, and we have over I think it was 43% of our clients were placed into jobs despite the pandemic. So this is really, I guess, a really big accomplishment for us because unemployment rates have been really low. But 43% of our cohorts have been placed. So we're really proud about that. And over 75% of our individuals have an increase in savings. So like they've been saving really well during the pandemic. Well, obviously, because I guess you can't really go anywhere. But yeah, we try to monitor and check in with them and say like, oh, how's your spending? How's your budgeting? And like over 70% of them have been like, yeah, it's been really good. Like we've been saving really well during this time. So
sounds good. So if anyone wants to find you or reach you, where can they find you on your social media?
Yeah, so my Instagram is Rejoyce for Eva. So it's REJOYCE, the number 4 and then EVA. And you can also check out our nonprofit at kaimore.org. So it's KAIMORE.org.
All right, sounds good. Thank you so much for being on the show. For those of you who liked it, make sure you reach out to her. And I hope you like this video. And I'll be doing a few more interviews. And make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel and share this with as many people as you know. All right, take care.
Thanks, everybody.